it's fun to be here and to be playing all manner of things. Not least because it gives me an excuse to show off and run my own game, and thus legitimize its existence within the wider NSR sphere. So, thank you all for turning up today to play Quarrel Fable. We'll briefly start off introing who we are, just so that we all know who everybody is, and after that we can then get focused into particularly who the characters are and the like. I am also going to ask what your experience with this kind of game is. It's possible you've played this specific game, in which case thank you very much. But otherwise, it's mechanically quite a bit similar to it's built off the same bones as Maze Rats. It kind of falls the old splintered into the odd line from a while back, but mechanically pulls as much from that as also it pulls from the old Fighting Fantasy game books. Because functionally those were the things that got me into role-playing games back when I was a small child, and frankly still takes a significant amount of attention in actually how I think about role-playing as well. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. So hello everybody, I'm Sean, he and him, and I've been role-playing, gosh, I think we're almost at, I think it's like 28 years now, roundabout. My best friend at school brought the Warlock of Firetop Mountain in, and we would all sit around the picnic tables and make decisions as a group as to what we'd do. And that was what kind of locked me into role-playing. Invariably, we would always die at the vampire, and as an adult, I've since learned if you even meet the vampire, you've gone the wrong way. So that got me started. I was then part of the Wizards of the Coast new D&D, because it came out when I was in secondary school. But more so recently, I've been a lot more interested typically in horror games, in old school games, so like OSR and NSR, mostly from the perspective of where they tend to be lighter to play. There's more like thinking in the world at any given point, and the problem solving of that is quite fun. And also the fact that it enables me to carry a tiny little bag with all of the dice in, rather than having to make sure that I've got a huge number of tools, is certainly something that I enjoy. So that's me. What we'll do is we'll go in alphabetical order, because conveniently everybody can see the same alphabet. And if you just want to say who you are, what your experience with games of this sort are, and then we'll start off. So, Adrian, you're first.
Hi, I'm Adrian. Thanks for running this game. I thought it sounded cool because it said it was based on fighting fantasy. I think fighting fantasy game books are cool. I've run a bit of Troika, which is also ultimately based on fighting fantasy, like at least in terms of the mechanics. So I like to see that. And I'm a bit new to this Discord that we're on here, the NSR called Cauldron, but I've been into OSR games for a while. Yeah, I've been doing role-playing games like yourself since I was a kid. And I'm the forever GM. Usually when I want to try a new system out, I just have to run it myself. So it's cool when I can find a space where somebody is trying something, gets to show me something new. So that's really cool. Yeah.
Excellent news. Yeah, no, this it uses the same skill spread as Troika, but Troika is very much built from advanced fighting fantasy, whereas mine's built from fighting fantasy, an introductory role-playing game. And advanced fighting fantasy starts with a book called Dungeoneer! With a big demon on the front, whereas fighting fantasy, an introductory role-playing game, starts with a dice with a little were-tiger bit bursting out of it. So I think my side has the cooler version, which certainly helps. Onyx, hello.
Hi, I'm Onyx. I go by he, him. And this might be just about the only game I can make it to this camp, because I am in apparently the worst possible time zone for this server, Australia. Every game I've seen thus far is in the early AM, and this one is 7:30 p.m. at night. In terms of this kind of game, I'm not gonna lie, I just saw that the time fit with my time slot, and I was like, I can play it. I have run more bare bones, stripped back OSR games, so Into the Odd. I know a bit about Cairn. I've played a bit of that. I have run or tried to run a couple games of Cyborg. I'm pretty well versed with role playing, full stop. Been role playing for almost 15 years now. And I like playing silly little dudes, so this looks like it should be fun.
It's very much a case of silly little dudes. I do enjoy a game of big heroism. I play Magic the Gathering, and we've just had the Hobbit set has come for that, so we've been rewatching the Hobbit films, and certainly there's a real benefit to everything is big and important. But my single biggest influence on how I run and play games tends to be films like Layer Cake, where you've just got a load of weird little guys who are way out of their depth. And if they manage to be fine, they'll do well, but they probably won't, and it will be amusing to watch. So yeah, that's definitely the vibe. And finally, our erstwhile host, for those who are scrying in to this location. Hello.
G'day. Well, I'm a hybrid of my two fellow players in a way. I'm also attracted to the fighting fantasy RPG, and I've played with you once. I think it was the fighting fantasy RPG, your own incarnation. So I'm attracted to the dice mechanic system that you run. I really enjoy it. It's nice and simple. I'm from Melbourne, Australia. Thank you all for letting me stream this. And yeah, I've been playing since the late 80s. Also, I cut my teeth with the werewolf edition of the introductory role-playing game with Fighting Fantasy. So that was my gateway drug into this wonderful hobby. So thank you very much, and looking forward to it.
It's got some. Everyone's talking about. Adrian, you were talking about playing Shadow Dark yesterday. Fighting Fantasy, the introductory role-playing game, is the earliest book I know that has printed these things happen in real time. So like there's in one of the dungeons there's a mummy, and exactly 20 minutes after you slay it, or I can't remember the exact number, but a real-time chunk, it wakes up again and comes to find you. So everything's been done before, but invariably there's nothing new under the sun. That's often the best way of doing things. So yeah, today we are playing an adventure called Turn It Off, that initially I'd heard about on the podcast Between Two Cairns. And immediately upon seeing the cover for it, which is a fancy oil painting of a lighthouse, I was very much drawn to the interesting thing of that, because it's primarily a exploration slash almost like a heist, where you're kind of like trying to explore in an environment that sort of doesn't want you there, but with that perfect Gothic horror vibe. So it's written by Sean Audet, or Audet. Nobody has told me precisely, including the man himself. And hopefully today you will experience the entirety of why it is needed for you to turn it off, because it currently is turned off, whether it is the same as the thing that may be suggested. You currently live in a terrible little seaside town called Kinstow. It is sited in such a place as it could have been really useful. It's close enough to some of the major cities. It's conveniently enough distance between different locations. It could be a reasonable port, but it's never quite hit any of those things. So it's sort of like maintained this weird sort of like seaside festering town vibe. And whilst being there, potentially through choice or just sheer bad luck, you are petitioned by the town council to head across to St. Peter's Rock, which is a smallish island about maybe about 1 fathom. 1 fathom, no, that's only 6 foot. Maybe about 30 fathoms, there we go, that's better, off the coast, upon which there is a large lighthouse. And for the last month, the lighthouse has been dark, and there have been a moderate amount of shipwrecks. And so you have been petitioned to go off after this, after the last person who was sent from the Lighthouse Guild about 2 weeks ago did not come back. So that is what you're doing today. But first of all, we want to hear who you are. So we will go in the opposite order to what we introduced ourselves. And today hear who we are as fake people rather than as real people. So Mr. Adventure, if that is your real name.
Yes, that's my pseudonym.
You.
Fun fact, my name is also Adrian, so I will stay as Mr. Adventure for this adventure. I am playing Robhal Ford. I have 2 keywords, which is Leather Rebel. I'm not sure what significance they play, but my key traits or skills are Finesse, Fighter, and Parkour. If that's the correct way to describe those the 3 words.
It is, yes.
There you go.
Yeah, no, these are your advanced skills, which you can push upon to get better at any given role,
nice.
as and when they apply. So if you're doing something with finesse, you can kind of like mark one use of your finesse point to gain advantage on that roll.
Oh, you can only use it once per advanced skill?
So you've got 2. So you've got 2 for that, but you can also apply your luck consistently across the whole board for any other thing. And having it also means that you are just more parkoury. You are more finesse than the standard human.
Nice.
Fantastic, excellent stuff. Onyx, who are you today?
I'll be playing Clam Hamilton, artisanal archivist. I might do a voice, but not just yet, because I'm still figuring everything out. My keywords are magic, standards, and elocution. So I'm good at speaking.
Yeah. The way that the advanced skills in Quarrel Fable work are essentially where they're a broad, wide category of things that you're competent at. So you can very much use it when you yourself are doing these things, or almost always on a flip side of it as well. So if somebody is talking and you're trying to pick things out, you could use your elocution points for this part too. Everyone has their own flexibility given in that particular way with the way in which your characters are sort of built out. So you could have an intensely wide, broad thing like adventuring could be your special skill, which is fine because that gives you millions of opportunities to use it. But of course, if you have millions of opportunities to use it, you then use up those points. The points recover after you have had a good sleep in a good bed, which invariably won't be happening within today's session. So
you've
got
stamina?
2 of each points. Stamina you also have, but your stamina you can regain through eating and through having snacks. So your stamina is going to start off at 18, and that same is true for everybody. But your special skill use and your luck, once they're gone, they're gone. So yeah. And finally, Adrian, who are you today?
I am Ben. I am a jaded jungler, and my advanced skills are Legerdemain. I'm skilled in the art of the pratfall, and I have Noose.
Glorious. Noose being a pleasant wisdom.
So I know it essentially.
Yeah. So the 3 of you know each other well enough. My standard description for this is you met in the last film, and this is the sequel. So you could possibly have known each other from significantly further back along. But for the purposes of this, you trust each other enough to work together, but you don't necessarily have to have a big, long, dyed-in-the-cloth, direct personal history. The Other thing I was going to say, we've got 3 hours of gaming time in total today. I can't see us going longer than that, especially considering that that half of us are on the opposite half of the world to the others. It would be intensely mean to go like, well, actually, no, let's push it on for another couple of hours. But also, we'll probably take a break within any given hour, at least at one point. Also, if for whatever reason you need to step away, you can. If you can't make it back for whatever reason, just let us know so we're not like sat there waiting. One thing I find quite useful on Discord specifically, if you are away from keyboard, you can do a thing called deafening yourself, which looks like that. And so it's very visible to anybody looking at that we know that you can't hear what's coming in. So it's quite an effective, solid way of saying it's like I'm not at the keyboard at the moment for whatever reason. So those are all of the direct needments as such. One of you, and you can randomize this if you want, or you can opt in. One of you particularly does have a personal connection with Malcolm Fraser, who was the member of the Lighthouse Union who had come along 2 weeks ago to try and discover just what had gone wrong with the lighthouse. Is there anyone who wishes to take upon that personal burden?
Clam? Throw Clam Hamilton into it.
Are you happy with that, Onyx?
Yeah, sure. Just wanted to ask, I feel like, I know the character sheet's supposed to be pretty bare, but you haven't mentioned like how much luck or anything we have, whether we're supposed to have stats or anything.
That's true. So there are 3 additional stats that everybody has. I hid them at the bottom of the message rather than put them in each individual parts, and that's why. You have a standalone skill, which primarily relates to your. A lot of it's going to be your combat prowess, but also like how good you are in like technically difficult situations. Having a higher skill just tends to mean that you're slightly more reactive than most people.
And that's called skill.
And that is skill, yeah. And everybody has a skill of 9. In the full game, or if typically, if we're playing campaign rather than playing in a one-shot, this value is randomized, and the amount of experience that you need counters to the precise values that you've got. So if your stats are lower, you level up more quickly and the like. In a one-shot, I find it both easier for everyone to be on equal footing, because you don't have quite enough time to sort of redress that balance across as the game goes on. So yeah, so everybody has a skill, which is 9. You also have stamina, which is a combination of both your physical health, your mental resilience, and your ability to sort of like push towards what it is that you want. And your stamina is 18. If that reaches 0, that knocks you out. If that goes negative, then it kills you. And then your final score is luck, which, as the name implies, suggests how fortunate you are. You can use luck points whenever you would want to gain advantage on a situation. So where you've got specific special skills, you can only use them when they're relevant. Luck you can always apply to give yourself a bonus on the actual rolls themselves. And it's slightly worth knowing what the odds are at the beginning. Most of the time, if I'm asking you to test your metal, which is the standard roll that you'll be making, you'll be rolling 2d6 and trying to get 9. In this case, I got a grand total of 3, which would not succeed. The odds of getting 9 on 2d6 are about 27%, so you're going to fail most rolls that you do. It's similar-ish to the standard like 2 in 6 chance in a lot of other OSR games. So you probably want to avoid rolling if you can. One of the ways you can also push things in your favour, if you have advantage for any reason. So it could be that you're using particular items you're exploiting the situation as it's like written out. This is written out as displayed. Or if you're spending a point of one of your stats. So you can spend luck in any situation, or you could spend like medicine if that applied, for instance. then that gives you advantage, which is that you roll 3 dice. And then you pick the best 2. In this case, I've still rolled almost as badly. 5, 5, and 1. So yeah, so with a 10, I would then succeed. The odds of success with advantage are about 50%. So you're significantly better than you would otherwise be, but still not guaranteed. However, if you do have advantage from 2 different situations, then you are just going to succeed outright. So it could be that you've already got a position slightly better because of like the environment you're doing, like you might be jumping out at somebody, and then you also want to spend a point of fighting, and then that gives you double advantage, and so you're just going to succeed automatically. So essentially, you have this decision as you play through whether you prefer to let it rest on statistics and just be lucky all the time, or if you want to sort of like spend your resources to kind of gain some more like success and usefulness as we go through. I quite like a little bit of a balance of both. Invariably, it's always quite fun to see how people completely separately apply their own sort of tolerance for risk, primarily. But yeah, so Clam, you have a personal history with Malcolm. He is the like shoreside member of the Guild of Lighthouse Masters, and as a magician, he is one of the sort of experts that you would have like spoken to at different points, where if you'd seen strange constellations in the sky or observed peculiar processes happening within weather formations, one of the sort of experts that you deal with. Whether or not you like him, that's up to you, and we can see more of that as we play through. But it's very much one of those people where if he doesn't come back safely, it would certainly make your day job a bit more difficult. You don't directly have to rescue him. I mean, it would be heroic to do so, but it's certainly a position of it would be awkward if you didn't get home, and it would just involve you having to find a different, maybe slightly easier to work with, but still another more intelligent and learned expert. But as a group, you soon arrive on St. Peter's Rock. It is 30 fathoms from the coast, so it's within easy sight. A fathom being 6 foot, and you can see from the distance, sort of like rolling in towards you, a storm which is fairly normal for this time of year, but it's particularly like strengthening. It's further out to sea at the moment. Precisely when it's going to arrive, you're not entirely certain. Night is going to fall again in maybe if the weather kind of holds, probably about like 3 hours game time. And you can also see that there is a ship some way off heading sort of in this direction. Often, if it would be approaching it during the day, you'd be able to actually like see the rock itself. But with both the night and the storm coming, it's very likely that it's going to sort of potentially collide with the island itself, or at least damage things very much locally. And so that is why you've been pressed to go now. But what does that look like as you arrive on this like scrubby little island? Theoretically, there's some foliage on there. You can smell it, but it's almost impossible to see. You've just got this squat rock with a couple of buildings connected up to a tallish lighthouse tower. But yeah, you arrive having been rowed over. What's it look like as you get off onto the island?
Well, I think Clam Hamilton is a fairly well-dressed, maybe overdressed man. He has his nice, well, he doesn't have anything that isn't nice. Leather shoes on, polished to a sheen, and a nice suit and slacks. Gold pocket watch. And he's just like tiptoeing over these rocks, trying to not step in any mud or get any dust on his toes, wiping it off as soon as he can. I really would prefer to have worked with someone else, but there are not many options in this field, unfortunately. Seems to be a bit of a recluse, but that just might be the lighthouse keeper type.
You think we should push him into the sea?
He knows Malcolm. He could be useful.
Oh, I thought you were talking about throwing the lighthouse keeper into the sea. I would think he would be able to survive quite nicely.
Maybe, but not if you throw him from the top of the lighthouse into the sea.
From the
And in
top.
fact, as you think that, or even like sort of like look across, although the lighthouse itself is not lit, in fact you can sort of see that the glass around the top that you'd normally expect to be fairly reasonable seems to have been like broken in different ways. There is a silhouette of a man in there, so it isn't just a situation where you're turning up on an island completely alone, but precisely what's going on is not clear. But yeah, what
Well,
do you do?
Robhal's a roguish type, bit of a scallywag, and after having a bit of parley with Ben, he says, "Let's get to it." And he sort of doesn't take the time that Clam took, but he sort of bounds from rock to rock, pointing to the top of the lighthouse. "Last one up's a rotten egg." He just starts taking an advanced position.
Ben is gonna hop aboard her skateboard and race to the lighthouse, wielding her magic sword.
Excellent news. So yeah, from the outside you can see it's quite a squat building. It's been kind of like covered over with like quite a thick sort of like plaster scattered in with various bits of rubble to sort of keep it protected from the elements. There are a few like very small windows at the very top, almost sort of like arrow slits in size, just enough to kind of like let through some light, and invariably like whistle horribly as the winds kind of like keep up and high. You can see that on so you've essentially got like two major buildings, kind of like a squat like two-story house, which looks like it's probably the keeper's cottage, and then you've got the base of the lighthouse itself, and then probably about 140 feet upwards the actual lighthouse proper. The two of these are connected by a thin covered like section, so it's a fairly moderate building. What you can see is that there, as you're sort of like coming up to approach this thing, both the cottage part of this seems to have a door on either side. There's also a sort of cellar door that you've got here. The connecting like corridor between the two of them also seems to have a door on the other side, on each side of it as well. It doesn't appear that there's a direct route in straight to where the actual lighthouse itself is, but we've certainly got possibilities for where it is that you're wanting to go first.
Who gets there first?
So yeah, where
Yeah.
I imagine that the fastest is likely to be Ben at this point.
Come on.
What can I
Although
say?
you can both roll for it to see who's.
I'm happy to roll off. if
I'm
you
happy
want
to roll off. Let's go.
So yeah, so standard rolls 2d6, and you're aiming for 9 or higher to be very comfortable within your route. Of the two of you, whoever gets the absolute highest will be the true winner. If you want, you can apply a skill.
I would like to apply my pratfall skills because my actual goal is to get way ahead of him and then do a really funny fall right at the end so that he wins the race.
Glorious. So you can spend a point of that if you wish, and that'll give you 3 dice, and then you keep the best 2.
I scored a 7.
Keep the best 2, and we're rolling. We have to get a 9, right? Yeah, I got 5.
Yeah.
Oh.
It looks quite complicated for the loose. Like something that the route itself should be fairly straightforward. The ground is flat. It's been relatively dry. The kind of you can see the storm growing off in the distance. The waves haven't been especially solid, but there are so many sections of this ground that instead of just being like dry, comfortable rock that you can quite easily move across, there are just like tiny little pockets of like mosses and algae, and there are just so many sections where the two of you are kind of slipping. It doesn't look particularly skilled, but certainly it is a point where technically Robhal gets there first, but it's not a win.
It's a win.
How does Clam respond to the clearly appropriate emotional response of his allies here?
Well, if he could turn his nose up anymore, he has done it. And I think seeing Ben slip over some of this moss, he just slowly tiptoes over the rocks as carefully as he can and just steps over her and just says, "Excuse me."
See, now you know why I'm so jaded. I always fall down.
I thought that was half the fun of this skateboarding business.
I tap. I'll tap Ben on the head with the flat of my sword as I leap over him and get to the door, and then tap on the door with my rapier. I say, there is anyone home?
The only response is just there's a gust of wind that comes. The windows themselves sort of just rattle against the actual panels of the thing themselves, and you just hear this brooding darkness from within.
Ooh, I'll go to the windows then. I'll ignore the door, and I'll see if I can access from the windows.
I would recognize that sound anywhere. The sound of brooding darkness is quite distinctive.
So the windows themselves are quite grimy. They're smallish in the fact that they're kind of like quite a thin statement, and they're quite high up. They've got cracks upon them, but as you sort of like clamber up, you're sort of like having to stand on your tiptoes to see up to the very first point of this bit. They're so grimy that you're having to like directly put your face right up against this thing, and you can feel the way that the wind is sort of like whistling back through in different sections. You imagine that you probably could break this fairly easily. It wouldn't be comfortable to move through, but it's just big enough that each of you could. But it would definitely be like very slow to go through.
Is there light from within?
Inside,
can I see anything?
Yeah. So there isn't any light currently. Internally, you can sort of see that there is in the sort of like the interconnected part. There's a little bit of light through that section. So the actual like cottage part of itself, which is sort of like directly looking through. To be fair, the night is only just coming down now. It's it's reasonable to assume that there probably would be someone might be turning lights on soon, but it's not currently.
Okay.
But that connecting corridor, you can see a little bit of light kind of coming through that way.
I'll just give
you do
hand
also smell
signals
this
to the team members to go to the front door, like the pizza move.
You can smell this intense bad soup smell. It smells like not particularly great meat. It smells like it's been stewed for so long that whatever would have been vegetables in there has kind of just become fluid.
Okay.
And it's sort of almost burnt onion smell inside that as well.
It suits me. I haven't got any teeth anyway.
That somehow doesn't surprise me.
Or the falls.
The door itself is fairly sturdy, but you can see that the handle itself has clearly been oiled remarkably regularly. In fact, it's still got this horrible sort of smear of whatever this very basic the sort of oil that you get in blocks. It might even just be a bit of lard or something similar. But it is very simple that you can sort of turn this circle part and open up to within the cottage part of it itself. It's from the inside, the smell of whatever it is that's cooking is even stronger. You can hear that it's bubbling on the stove. There's a table that's been set for two. There's a couple of additional doors you can see in here. One of them in the corner that's very much from a position where you reckon, if anything, that's probably going to lead down to the cellar, because you did see the cellar door from the outside. And then there's also a set of stairs that lead up towards the loft section up above exactly where you are here. Otherwise, it's quiet, but you can sort of hear the bubbling of the actual soup itself on the counter. There's a really sort of persistent tobacco and coal smell throughout this thing. There's a couple of stools. There's another low table with a sort of almost flower pot kind of piled high with some sort of powder. But otherwise it seems to be not abandoned, but no one has responded. You knocked on the window, you looked in through.
I'm gonna very quietly, carefully, and cautiously creep in and shout, "Hello there, lighthouse keeper. Give us some of your soup or we'll throw you into the sea."
We're the good guys.
We're the good guys.
Didn't mean that. We're here for business. It's Clam. Clam Hamilton, you remembered me.
Oh, interesting. So, again, it seems that any time you're calling out, it is the weather itself that is responding to you. As you sort of call out, there's that quietness. Bam sort of speaks out into the open, and then the whole of the building sort of shudders as you can you see the flash of it immediately before the actual knock almost of the actual bolt itself strikes into the lighthouse proper. You can smell the ozone almost immediately. It is almost enough to sort of overwhelm the rancid soup, and then everything is just quiet. The door to the central part is cracked, and that's where you can see a little bit of light coming through. But the light hasn't moved in response. So if there's somebody there, the light is just
I'd like to scoot over to it was at a pot with some powder in it, or a... Yeah, I'd like to skateboard over to that and check out the powder. Put my hand in and kind of just let it, strip it off and just have a look at what it is.
So it seems to be like very, very burned up tobacco leaves. The vast majority of it looks to be that it's just been like knocked out once or twice. From just how intensely dry and almost like entirely like colorless various sections of it. It looks like a few of them have sort of like been like restocked to kind of continue, like to pad out slightly more.
I'll tip
like
the
more
entire
neutral.
contents. Right. I'll tip the entire contents into the soup to add some flavor.
To be fair, probably is even going to assist with some of the taste that you've got at this point here. Other things that you can see on the both on like the kitchen stove, it itself is like lit with coal. There's like quite a solid amount of the coal that they've kind of got going at this point here. There's a big scuttle just next to it that's got, it's not quite to overflowing, but it's certainly completely full. You've got little like chunks of meat that sort of like come up and like float within the soup, especially as you sort of like pour the ash in. It's sort of like the very surface of this like swims in a mystical manner. And the other thing that's quite notable, upon the table where you've kind of got like the table has been set for two, there are a couple of like stubby glasses. And anyone but Ben, because she's kind of like there's too many intense aromas directly at front there. But the rest of you can kind of smell that the whatever in the glasses is intensely alcoholic, and not in a great way. It kind of almost, if anything, smells a bit more like paint stripper than anything you might choose to drink.
Does it look like the place has been left in a hurry, or any signs that there's been a struggle, or any clues of that sort? Blood? Any footprints? Muddy footprints from outside, leading anywhere? Boots?
So there's, you can see that there's a sort of like boot stand, and there's a couple of additional pairs of boots on there, but there's like enough space for maybe like 5 or 6 different pairs, and so it's kind of like half used.
All the same size?
There's a couple of different sizes. So you've got like a fairly large one, and then an ever so slightly smaller one. There's no immediate signs of struggle. There is a kind of like a little bit of blood on the like kitchen counter, but you kind of get the impression that that's just from like preparing meat, and it's not really been wiped up properly. There's a couple of little there's like bits of like gristle and various stuff that's sort of been cut off. It looks like there's some particularly like heavy bits of skin that have been cut aside and just sort of like put down, like scraped to the edge and not quite fully cleared away. It does look like someone's just like left it in motion, but it doesn't look like it's been abandoned, and it certainly doesn't look like it's been well, if they fled to anywhere, you would have seen it, because like you came from the outside, you saw at least one person in the actual like lighthouse tower as you were approaching.
Well, it looks like he wasn't alone. I'll look towards Clam and say, who else is it stationed here?
What gives you the impression that he wasn't alone?
I'll tap the different sized boots with my rapier.
That is a good point. Well, I guess the next point to check would be the living quarters.
We did see a shadow up at the top of the tower.
Well, we mustn't jump to conclusions.
You do also have there's the like very steep ladder in this room that gets you up to the sort of like mezzanine loft bit within the.
How many levels is this lighthouse to get to the top?
So the lighthouse proper, it looks like it's maybe about 3 stories worth. But if it's built like anything like a standard lighthouse, it's probably just a very, very top floor, and then some big stairs and ladders that go up towards it. the keeper's cottage that you're currently in is 2 stories total. So you've kind of like come in on the ground, and there is like where the building itself has kind of got like quite a solid, like steep roof. There is then also some like space up in the attic, but it looks like it's just as much living space as it is sort of like anything else.
So you said there's a mezzanine, so we can actually see the second level.
Yeah.
And no one answered when Clam called out.
You also didn't see any motion from up there either. One thing that probably you're fairly familiar with, I mean, not quite, you wouldn't call yourself a thief, but you're certainly like skilled in the roguish arts. And you at the very least would get the impression like if it was possible for somebody to be hiding up there, you'd probably see the signs. At the very least, there's a sort of like conscious stillness that happens if somebody's trying not to get caught, and instead you can kind of just hear the standard like creaking of the building. The wind at this point also is like whistling quite strongly through. It almost sounds like a kettle boiling.
I would like to draw my magic jungle, and I would like to approach the door where the light was coming from, and then whip it open all at once and go, aha! Pointing the magic jungle at whoever I see in there, or at the empty room.
So it is a direct empty room. It's very narrow, it's cluttered. There are shelves upon the walls that are sort of like stocked with old provisions, rusted tools, several like second-hand like ship's equipment. So you've got like there's like large loops of cable ropes. There's like entire sheafs of wool, a variety of things here. You've got like bags of flour in metal hoppers. There's no people there. You do see where the light itself was coming from. There's a sort of, it's like your standard like hermit's lantern, which is perched up on one of the shelves and is lit. It's kind of like turned to a relatively like low intensity. It's almost got the sort of power of a couple of candles on at the moment, but you get the impression that you can kind of like turn the amount of gas up and down.
I'll have that.
As you're like going up, reaching for that, you can also see at the far end of this very thin room is another door that's like, you can see where the route sort of like builds directly through. You've got a door on the left that's going to lead you back to the outside. There's another one on the right, and then also at the very far end of the corridor that probably leads directly towards the lighthouse proper. But from within there, you can also hear just some sound. It's muffled. But there's certainly a sort of like you can kind of hear.
I'll go out and fetch the other two if like sort of beckoning if they don't also hear that.
Once you point it out, the others can. In the other room, it's almost like it's so similar in noise, or at least in pitch, to the whistlings of the wind and the kind of like the rattlings of the stuff that it's hard to tell. But when you're solidly within the room, if you weren't searching for someone, you'd almost get the impression that it was like the moans of a ghost or something similar.
Well, Robhal was just about to open the cellar door, but hearing Ben mention there's sound, that attracts his attention and heads towards Ben's location.
Cool. I'm going to say... Oh, yeah.
Is Clam following, or is there anything else that you're doing in the main keeping?
He was just going to check the sleeping quarters, just if they had any sort of bed arrangement.
So you can kind of, I imagine by this point, the Benman calls you back. You've like climbed. It's half stairs, half ladder almost. And at the top you can see that there are two solid mattresses that look to be a kind of like a mix of probably like occam and wool, various pieces of straw, but just this like big, horrible padded mattresses. There is a desk as well, which appears to be quite quite a simple one, but there is a large ledger on top of that, and there's some drawers. But there's no like underbed for anyone to possibly hide in underneath at that point. And you can't see anybody up there to the point where you're then called back by Ben. Oh, and again the windows.
Probably still sneak a look at the ledger if I can.
It is a strange ledger, so it's been described. What you can see is that it is it's meticulous. It's written in. It's almost like schoolgirl font. It's so carefully written at the very, very beginning of it. There's a weird little cuteness of all of the tittles on the just the technical term for the dot above the eye. All of those are sort of like drawn in as like tiny little circles that almost look like a sun. For the most part, it essentially just talks about when the tides were like, I'm going to access this. This was observed. It makes reference to the names of a few of the other rocks close enough, and especially some of the directions of the tides. It looks like it's kind of primarily the writing of one person. Every now and then there's another hand that kind of just like writes a little bit more straightforwardly, kind of like summarizes what's going on any given day. On average, it's maybe like once or twice a week, it seems, that this other hand writes stuff. But then about 4 months ago, the notes themselves become weird. It stops like describing what's going on. The text itself has shifted slightly. You've got, instead of where the person was like writing absolutely perfectly along all of the lines, paying loads of attention, now the lines themselves don't really quite seem to make sense. A lot of it is kind of skewed or like written across various different things, and it's very much written with a perspective of like religious devotion, or just this sense of awe. All of these like standard motions of the sea, the movement of the tides and so on, and how being like proactively venerated in the writing that you've got here. It's technically still correct from what you can tell, but it's certainly a significant shift in the vibe in which it's feeling. And yeah, it's no. And also the other thing I would say, neither of the pieces of handwriting here are Malcolm's, which makes sense. He works on the mainland. He might turn up and like. There's been a couple of points where you've seen visitation from Fraser, and then like ticked off at various different points.
Do you think that you could recap that more simply? Because I'm just afraid I didn't cover what the different hands were, what the different things were. It was just too much information. Do you mind? Sorry.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
So I could do it in character.
Ooh, yeah, I don't think we're there anyway.
Yes.
Oh no, he'd come back. And to be also, like, all of you as players certainly heard and
yeah.
Yeah, so
do you want to
Clam
describe it?
Clam comes back and holding this ledger, looking at it quite oddly. He sort of stumbles along, not looking up. Says, "Yes, it seems your theory that two people were living here was quite accurate. One of them seemed a fair bit more educated than the other one, and oh goodness, is that a man screaming?" It seems It seems as though they were... Is this a bad time? I think there might have been a little bit of insanity. One of them, maybe both of them, seem to have fallen into a religious fervor with regards to their daily, weekly reports of the ocean and its tides and the weather and whatnot. Mundane things, but with such an impassioned, just love.
Who is this other person? We know of Fraser, but weren't told that there was a second.
I don't think that either of these people are Fraser. Fraser is not a local. He doesn't work here, typically.
Seattle.
He's from the mainland.
Didn't the Coast Guard say that he could be in peril here?
Yeah, he was about 2 weeks ago the one who came to check just what's going on, and
He didn't come back.
he's not come back. No.
Let's go, Ben.
The floor. You can go,
Thank you, Clam.
Clam.
Clam, you have such a way with, words. Thank you for that. And let me go deal with the person screaming. So I'll go shout down the hallway. Could you please stop screaming? We're trying to read.
Yes, thank you, my dear. That's very kind of you.
You're welcome.
And I think on that bombshell is probably the optimal part for us to take a brief intermission. I've been able to recover it as best as possible. So it's
Hello.
hello. Satty.
What shall we find, Ben? What shall we find?
Who knows? Anything.
What's behind door number 1?
The Howling Darkness.
Ooh. Are we ready?
Ready to go.
Yeah.
Amazing. You suddenly hear hurried footsteps that grow louder and more frantic back from the room that you had left. Shortly afterwards, there's also a kind of a slamming of a door, probably the cellar door, from the sounds of the sort of like metallic aspect of it. And a fairly short man bursts into the room, entirely covered in blood, and just going, "Whoa, whoa."
From behind us.
He's holding a jagged piece of glass, about probably almost twice the size of his own head, holding it like quite frantically. As you sort of gather yourselves in the room there, he runs at you. In many games, this would be the point where I'd ask you to roll for initiative. However, in Quarrel Fable, standard roll, something initially drawn from the blog of the homebrew homunculus, is entitled Guerrilla Initiative. Whichever side is the smallest is the first to go. In that case, it's this bloodied man who is running at you, and luckily he doesn't have a particularly competent weapon. But nonetheless, he could likely still cause a significant amount of damage.
Is this before we open the door, GM, or after?
This is before. So this is at the point when you're kind of like looking at it, you hear the screaming, and Ben shouts off to it's like, we're trying to read, and then from behind you, in the room you just come from, suddenly there's just like,
I knew I should have checked that
frantic
cellar.
and yeah, the closest to our newcomer is going to be Clam, and where you have a skill of 9, your assailant needs to get 9 on the dice. Excuse me. Conveniently, it's the same number they normally need to get, but if someone had a much higher skill, for instance, or a much lower skill, then your target is going to be that number. But if he fails to connect, instead you can counteract for free. But I've rolled a 10 on 2 dice, so the first thing that sort of happens is he runs up, sort of like grabs the ledger from Clam's hand. Doesn't quite like manage to like wrest it out, but in trying to sort of like grab it with both hands, and like scratches up your arm with the knife, which deals a measly 3 points of damage, which is then deducted from your stamina. Yeah, what's your initial reaction to that, Clam, as suddenly a very bloody man tries to steal your book? Well, probably not your book, in his consideration, and savages your arm for it.
Get off me, you animal!
As a group, you can now decide how and what you wish to do. It is side-based initiative as such, so that you can take your turns in whatever order you want. Typically, one person will do the entirety of their turn before somebody else does. But if you want to like set up a particular combo or something of the sort, you can manage that too.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I think if a bloody man tries to steal our book, we steal his blood.
Sounds fair.
It's only fair. Yeah.
That won't be necessary. I have just the thing for this.
You could always begin with that.
I am going to cast Falls. I believe that's how you pronounce that. FLZ.
Glorious. So the effect of this, because he's taken the first turn, you've got enough time sort of to recover. If you were acting at the beginning of before he had managed to do anything, you'd have to roll to see if you can kind of get it finished before happening. But as you're doing this in response, it is perfectly safe. Falls FLZ will cost you D6 points of stamina, and it will immobilize an enemy for D6 rounds. Those are separate rolls, so if you want to roll how much it costs you first, and then how effective it is.
That's 2.
Excellent.
That's stamina.
Yep. And how long is your
4
ascendant
rounds.
immobilized for? Ooh, excellent. What's this look like?
I think he, like, instinctually, almost, as soon as this guy came up and tried to grab the book out of his hand, one of his hands reached for his pocket watch and just clutched it. And he clicked the stopper, and this guy freezes in place as he has stopped time for him.
He still seems to be like ever so slightly like aware and conscious. One thing that you can see is that just like the entirety of any part that he could like willingly move, like even his eyelids, are just kind of like just held in this, almost like it's kind of like slightly out of phase, and there's like weird sort of like buzz to the rest of them. The other two, you know that Clam is a magical sort, but nonetheless, like, what's your responses to suddenly seeing this magical protection in front of you? Like, is this? Do you like it? Do you dislike it?
No, I immediately draw my rapier and put the tip of the blade to the assailant's throat and just look sideways to Clam and say, "You all right?"
Just a bit of a scratch. I've taken worse injuries in the field, I assure you. It was quite rude, though.
That's
Oh,
the
when you said
attitude.
assailant, I thought you meant clam. Sorry.
Not yet, Ben, not yet. Who are you, bloodied man? Oh, he can't talk,
He
can
can't
he?
talk as a
Oh.
result of being
Right.
frozen in place. You have probably seen Clam do this before.
Oh, okay. If I know that he wasn't able to talk, I'll say, Ben, maybe we should go see while this person's disabled, go see what the muffled cries were.
Sure. Do you think we should take his shard of glass away first?
Of course. And
Yes,
disarm him.
Cool.
that is a good idea.
I collect shards of glass.
Oh, perfect.
This one seems weirdly thin. All of the glass you've seen around the island has been like intensely thick, utterly covered in grime. This one is very, very different. It's almost like really fancy. You can even see there's certain points in it where it's still got some like leading in it from where clearly it had been part of like some larger window.
Cool.
Do you intend to beyond disarming this bloody man? Do you intend to do anything further, or are you just leaving him where he is and wandering off?
Leave him with Clam.
Will last for maybe about 3 minutes.
Yeah, I think that's the plan, is to let Clam deal with him, since he's shown he's got control over him.
I'm concerned and with these muffled cries. Could be Malcolm.
Yeah, let's unmuffle them.
But also, there is the mechanical problem of the fact that I did freeze him while he was grabbing me.
Yeah, that sounds tough for you. So, see you in a bit.
It pinches if you're trying to like peel him off, but it's uncomfortable rather than additionally painful. There's a slight scratch upon the actual outside of the ledger, but to be fair, this thing looks like it's been dropped in the sea a few times, so it's, if anything, probably only adds to the effect. The two of you head back into the main like cottage room. You can see that just from the boot stand near the door is kind of like knocked over as the cellar door being kind of like opened up quite suddenly.
Oh, the cries coming from the cellar. We were heading to the cries from the...
Whilst you're in this room, you can't quite hear it, although if you want to like stop and kind of like spend a bit of time to kind of like be conscious of it, you can try and...
Yeah, I'll take my ear trumpet. Take my ear trumpet to listen more carefully.
Nice. So an ear trumpet will give you advantage on this automatically. So if you want to roll 3 dice and take the best 2, you could also spend a point of irrelevant skill or a point of luck just to straight outright guarantee it.
Oh, how many? Because I didn't see sort of points listed for the skills. How many points do I have?
So you have 2 points for each of them.
2 each.
Yeah. So essentially you can use, but even if you use them up, like you're still a top tier jungler, even if you've extracted all your resources.
Cool. Well, I still only got a 6, so
you can hear a certain point of it. The oddness of it as well, like where you've got both the cellar door that's like slightly open nearby, you've got your ear trumpet to the floor. The actual like flooring in here is like fairly solid tile. It feels like it's probably like sprung on top of some wood as well. It does sound like he's not in the cellar, but it certainly is coming from downwards. Like you're conscious that the sounds of screaming like is further away from where you are now, but it is certainly beneath you.
Well, what do you think? How about you check down, I check up?
Split the party, that's my creed. I'll head to the passage that leads to the lighthouse. I've still got that image
Nice.
of that shadowy figure up there. Perhaps that's where the cry came from. So I'll bound
So
forward.
that corridor is still where where Clam is currently, with the like frozen in time, bloodied man. But as Ben kind of like checks down, are you checking down in the cellar? Is that correct?
Yeah, I'll go down the cellar on my skateboard.
Yeah. And like the steps themselves are very steep, but because it's clearly been like stepped up and down so often, there's actually a nice comfortable like curve in the middle of each step. So actually, it almost feels just as straightforward as a direct ramp itself. Down here, the cellar is it's cramped. It's cluttered. I've also just discovered that the PDF is hyperlinked, and if I click on the title of any given room, it takes me back to the map, which saves me a lot of scrolling, and I'm glad I've discovered this halfway through rather than only at the end. So yeah, down here the air just like stinks of just like damp and like mold. There's a kind of like rancid irony there. You can see the walls of the cellar are just sort of like covered in just this like intensely meaningful, disturbing frescoes where clearly someone has just like mostly drawn with like smeared charcoal and like dark paints, and it looks like there's various different dyes that have already been made by sea urchins or various other creatures of the deep. Across them there are like scraped into the wall in tiny little like very jagged, almost like cuneiform style marks upon the wall. You've got like various different messages that have been written down, such as like, "The sea whispers, but I must not listen." There's a workbench down here. You can see like jugs of lantern oil. You've got various like pigments and stuff that have been crushed up. It looks like some parts of it are probably like dried up blood that's sort of been like mixed in with like flour or stone. It's bits of like algae. You can also see just off to the left of where you've got an additional set of stairs up that leads to the sort of like cellar door. You've got the one from inside the house. You've got the one that leads up to the outside. There is an enormous rent in the wall, and it is from that point that you can sort of hear this like direction. What does Ben immediately do before we flash back to the other?
Ben is immediately going to be like, "Wow, this stuff is amazing. I wonder if this artist has an agent."
It is the sort of thing that, in some of the bigger cities, it's certainly got the sort of like emotional resonance that like you could fill an entire gallery with stuff of this sort. It's clearly a very powerful and like heartfelt piece of work. It'd be quite tricky to move it, considering it seems to be painted onto raw stone. But
still, I've just
has practicality.
Yeah, I've just been to patrons who buy lesser stuff than this. I think even an etching, if I were to take like a tracing from it, I think that could buy me something. But that's all I'll do. Pass on.
Back up in the like supply corridor, we have Clam with a scratched up book and a scratched up arm. We have Robhal. What are the two of you doing? There's the door at the far end.
I'm heading to the far end. I'm leaving Clam with the assailant, the frozen assailant, and I'm heading towards the lighthouse. Just try to make my way to the top.
Clam's muttering to this. He hesitates to think of him as a gentleman, and he's saying, "It was really quite rude. You could have just said something. If this is your property, you could have just said, 'Excuse me, my dear fellow, what are you doing here? And what are your companions here for?' I would have answered promptly, but instead you decided to assault me. I am quite frankly offended. Now, you get to sit there and calm down. Once you've thought about what you've done, we can have a chat like real gentlemen. All right? All right.
Would you also give me a roll? You've automatically got advantage just from the fact that he is quite literally a captive audience. If you wished to spend a point of elocution, the roll just succeeds, or you could keep it on the 50-50 odds.
I don't see a reason not to. It's a one shot after all.
Exactly. This is the other reason why each of you have 2 points in each of your skills rather than like 4, because you're like, well, I might need them later. So no, use the points. You can, although obviously he can't move as stuff himself, you can sort of like see that there's a franticness in his eyes as he sort of like was running through, like drifts a little. And although you kind of like you can't quite see the cicades moving in the same normal way that if he was like fully like trying to look at you, you can certainly see that the calmness is sort of settled upon this man, even as much as he's still held in time.
Probably
Meanwhile,
he notices dealing with people as he does in the field. He probably notices his eyes like dilating a little bit, just coming out of pinpricks.
Yeah. You can see the immediate. It's like, yes, you're no longer in the same mode that you were. Robhal, I'm going to read to you a brief sentence. So you're about to open the door to the staircase. A makeshift crossbow trap activates via fishing line and pulley contraption connected to the storehouse door. As somebody who is kind of like used to
breaking and entering.
Used to doing equivalent, in breaking and entry, I imagine that that you probably would have like a fairly standard habit of at least like noticing if you're opening a door and it's like, hang on a minute, there's a fishing wire pulling that. As such, the attack it's going to make against you can't get advantage in any way. So I'm just going to roll 2 dice. Because eventually, like, it's just a case of like, well, you just need to open it. You kind of like open it off to the side, you're probably fine. And I roll a 6, so the arrow whizzes right past
Dodge,
you.
Matrix.
And luckily doesn't collide with anybody else in the room as this thing just sort of like goes off to the floor. And you can see it's from the sort of like structure. Clearly the crossbow has been rigged up at some point within the last few months, and it looks like the whole thing gets set like individually and independently at any different point. From the looks of things, it looks like it had been set relatively recently. And the room that you're in it's about 3 stories tall. It's a big cylinder that just sort of like just tapers up towards the sides. It's largely just a big solid staircase that runs up.
Okay.
Pretty much each time it kind of does a loop, you've got a little bit of a landing.
Yeah.
It's like rust and oil.
Given that the trap's gone off, my mind's thinking, they'll probably think it's going to take me X amount of time to get to the top, but they underestimate Robhal Ford. And I put my rapier away and I don't use the staircase. I bound with my parkour on the rails to get up there in record time to surprise whoever's up there.
Glorious. Give us a roll. You can, to be fair, the fact that you're responding more quickly than if somebody had gotten shot in the chest with an arrow would do is going to give you an advantage on this. You can spend a point or you can do a roll, but only if you roll double ones are you going to accidentally like slip.
So do I use a point in parkour and roll 3 dice?
So you've already got advantage, so if you use a point, that would give you advantage twice, so you will just succeed.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll use the parkour and I'll get the double advantage to make sure that there's no risk of me failing this.
So you kind of like zip between the different sections, kind of like leaping over, maintaining your momentum in such a way that you're able to kind of like pass between all these different sections. The staircase itself is clearly like intensely solid, very old. Does look to be in good repair as well. As you reach the very, very top of it, you can see just this like ochre paint that has been kind of like painted right over the very, very top section of this. There's like huge spiraling patterns that kind of like keep being like applied in various different sections. It's like someone has attempted to do almost like a first coverage of it, but it's almost the patterns that you do if you were cleaning the walls rather than if you were trying to paint something on it, because the whole thing kind of looks like weirdly spirally. It's kind of got like gaps and so on in the middle of it. It almost has the effect of kind of looking at like hundreds of eyes sort of looking at you. Near the very, very top of the tower, you can also see in a bright red paint, "Turn it off" has just been written over and over and over again. That's mentioning the name of the module. My favourite thing when films say the name of the film themselves within it.
No exclamation
You
mark?
can also... No, not in this case. No punctuation at all, in fact.
How does the lighthouse work? Is it clear to me how to turn it on?
Probably. So, for the most part, essentially, it's just a very, very big lantern. So you've got like a huge pot of lantern oil. You've got a large thing, and then also there's some like reflective mirrors and some like prismic crystals that are just going to like intensify the actual light itself. Most of it is just so that you're sort of like visible, rather than you're necessarily showing exactly where things. Like you're not having to show the entirety of the land around you, you're just needing to make sure that actually people can see.
Oh. Well, when I bound onto that level and see these spirals, I draw my rapier and say, "Ha ha!" like to surprise whoever's there, and look around. Are there any? Is this shadowy figure there?
There is not. There is a trapdoor immediately above you, though.
Oh. Okay.
And talking of trapdoors, down in the cellar in the basement, I'm fairly happy with your first like study of the thing upon the wall. There's a real sense of, as you're kind of like copying it, it almost like makes you feel specific anxiety in terms of being concerned that you may bring about failures, and that so much of this is kind of almost like you place yourself within the image, and so much of this like oppressiveness is on from the outside of it, and it just feels weird to do so. But as soon as you kind of like stop looking at your own version of it and look back at the one on the wall, it feels okay. Maybe it's just the light down here. It's quite there's a lot of lantern oil. The aroma's quite a strange one.
So I'm starting to feel. So just to clarify, I'm starting to feel like there's some kind of oppressive force that's like specifically weighing down on me.
Yes, but only when you're looking at your copy of the image that you've made.
You know what? I think this needs more investigation. I think I need to keep copying.
From the side, you can also hear it like, "Help! I think he's gone. Help!" In a voice you don't recognize.
Working.
It's working here. Up in the central floor. I am glad that by this point in the image as well that you've managed to split the party 3 ways, which is frankly perfect.
Tick that
and I
box.
do say that genuinely. It's my favourite, especially in horror adjacent games.
Yeah.
In the middle you have Clam, and then finally you can see the lad in front of you sort of like drops down. He like immediately reaches and sort of like rubs his hand where you can see it like there's like a sharp splinter of glass that's sort of still in there, and he sort of like plucks it out. He's like, I'm sorry, I didn't know quite what I should do. Forgive me, sir. I didn't quite know what was happening here. You can also see he's just like drenched in blood. He doesn't appear to be wounded, apart from the little cut that he's got on his hand. And he's certainly, at least immediately, feeling deferent towards Clam.
Watch out for the
How do you respond?
Are you the lighthouse keeper?
One day, I might be. I'm Dylan. It's Alistair. He's in charge of everything. But one day he'll not make it, and I can take over and I can train up the next lad. It's got a few more years yet. I think he might live forever years if we're honest.
Now, why are you covered in blood?
Oh, don't worry about that. I've just been making paint. We've got
Making paint?
If you dry the blood, you mix it in with some flour. You can then mix that in with oil. You can paint it and it dries, and it looks... It's not quite as good as those beetles that they import, but it certainly looks fancy.
And what was that dreadful racket I heard coming from downstairs?
Probably the it's probably the lightning. Storms happen every now and then. Everything's all right here. We're just doing some art. Keep it to ourselves.
Where is the master of the lighthouse?
Where is he not? It's one thing you know. A man is his house, a house is his man. He's everywhere. Or wherever he wants to be, I suppose. Yeah.
Well, yes, that is certainly a collection of words. Where in this building is he? This instance.
Oh, he's not. He's in that building there. Like, the tall one. Lighthouse one.
No, I see. And what is your name again?
I've only had the one name. Oh, I haven't told you. I can't tell you again if I haven't told you the first time.
Turn of phrase, you understand.
Oh. You can call me Dylan.
You did tell me that.
That is a name you've at least heard at some point. You think he's been here for several years. You would have heard Malcolm complaining about various people he's had to work with. Dylan it was like, why are you here then? I thought I heard somebody knocking, but you were then poking about in our house.
Yes, we knocked, but nobody came to answer the door. So we presumed, as we have been told, that someone had come here on some business venture and didn't return for a number of weeks. So we're here looking for them.
Oh, unfortunate.
Yes, we feared for the worst, not just of our missing person, but the occupants of this residence.
We're okay, don't worry about us. Perfectly fine here.
Clearly, I mean, if I needed to be worried, it wouldn't be someone else's blood, and it would be yours, now wouldn't it?
Oh no, this isn't mine. We got this shipped in.
Shipped in from where?
Boats got lost. Some of them have got whale blood. Yeah, there's. They go and find them, and you get little bits of oil, but the blood itself, that's useful too. You can eat it if you have to.
Same place they get the beetles, I guess.
Well, Dylan, it has been a pleasure. Would you mind terribly giving me a bit of a tour?
Of course. So we're in the storage room, and this is where we use it as one of the rooms to store things. definitely landing around here somewhere. It's a bit that's rope. Use that to tie stuff. We've got a little bit of gravel over there if we need to like some gravel down. That bit of rope there that looks like it's come from a boat. That's a bit of rope. It's come from a boat. We bought that. It's cheaper. Come this way though. I'll show you into the other room. And he sort of like wanders back into the keeper's room and like beckons for you to be over. Meanwhile, at the top of the tower, you've got all of these like yellow spirals around you. This like rigid trapdoor directly atop. And then you've also got like the phrase is just like turn it off, written in the red across the walls.
I peer out towards the coast to see the ship, to calculate how much time we have before it is in peril.
It looks like it's maybe, if you're lucky, I mean the storm's coming in further. So long as it kind of keeps this side of the storm, it might be okay, and you've probably got about 2 or 3 hours.
Oh,
if the storm catches up, you probably want to be able to put this on in about 45 minutes. Because the visibility is just going to drop to nothing at that point.
Okay, so you were saying before, I have the means to light it. I could definitely get this. Probably.
I mean, you'd have to see it, like to directly see the mechanism itself, but it's probably. You imagine most of the stuff itself is going to be there. You haven't seen. It's not like this part's burnt down. It's not like this has been like smashed up or anything at these points.
Okay. My instinct is to light it, but seeing all these words suggesting not to light it, I sort of do want to see who's up here. So is there a way to exit the external of this level without going through the trapdoor? Again, I'm thinking of surprising them by climbing to the top.
There's a again, the windows at this point are almost too thin for someone to be able to sort of like sneak through.
For most people,
they're slightly keyhole shaped, so like sort of like the angle, if you kind of got it right, you'd be perfectly fine. And you definitely remember as you were like walking up, you saw that some of the glass windows at the very top had been smashed.
Yes.
Before you'd even entered the building. So if you can get onto the outside, you can certainly climb through.
So the smashed windows, is it out or in? Is like the glass
it looks like it's see, there's nothing that's fallen down beyond where the trapdoor is. And from outside, when you'd very first come into the building, you couldn't see if it had been like smashed out, smashed in, but it looked like at least one of the whole panes had been kind of like smashed up.
Oh, it's not on the level I'm on, the smash window. It's on the next level.
No, that's... Yeah.
Ah, okay.
You can, however, sort of like push yourself through the hole in the wall and climb on the outside.
I'll do that and climb.
It is high winds, and the rain is kind of like slicking down at this point here too. If you didn't have some sort of like capacity already, this would be a roll where you couldn't get advantage. But for you, this is currently a normal roll, but you can spend points if you want to.
Absolutely, parkour. Here we go. I'll use my parkour to get an extra dice. That's 3 dice.
Yes.
Here we go. Roll it.
Try not to roll triple ones.
Oh damn! I rolled triple 2. There's a chance of that. Oh! Can I use luck to reroll?
No, but you can use luck on the next thing you have to do, because you do manage to like climb out. It isn't as such. Had it been that you had ended up picking 2 ones, that would have been a fall straight up. But you kind of like, you're at the point, you kind of managed to get your segment at this point here, and then just like your foot slips. So you are kind of like hanging fairly precariously from between the very, very top edge and from the point at the side. You could if you're still trying to be like stealthy about it, it's slightly trickier. Or if you're not really worried about.
I'm in survival mode now. I just want to get up there.
There's a certain amount of noise outside, so even if you're not like hyper quiet, you might still not get heard. But yeah, if you're kind of like panicking in that way around, at least you can roll again and try and get it up. You can also spend luck in any situation to give yourself advantage. So
I've used all my parkour, so I'm going to spend a luck point to get that extra dice back. So to once again have 3 dice. Does that make sense?
If you wanted, you could spend double luck, and then that will give you the double advantage.
Nah. Just going to go the 1. If it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. Here we go. 3 dice coming here. Yes, 2 6s and a 4. Double 6.
So after, if anyone was watching, I think probably actually, if anything, you'd taken direction from Ben, in that sort of like the slip and the whoop, and then immediately you just sort of like move up with an incredible gracefulness, to the point where you kind of like vault. You carry the momentum of yourself through up into the actual like circular room perch at the very, very top. The entirety of this section sort of is completely shuddering. There is a dissembled lantern frame in front of you. You can see that there's like the true lens itself is elsewhere, but at least a little bit of light you can kind of manage with the wick that's still sort of in place. There doesn't appear to be oil here. You can also see that there's like a sledgehammer that's sort of like leaning against the actual like lantern frame itself, and from the top you can see that there is a like on the trapdoor itself there's like a really heavy padlock, but actually
it wasn't trapped. It wasn't trapped. It was just locked from.
It wasn't trapped. It was locked.
And there's oil on the level below though, wasn't there? There was enough oil on the level below. It's not on this level.
So it's seen some in the storehouse, and Ben has also seen some.
Nothing up here.
Like the cellar up here. Normally it would be kept up here, but for sundry reasons doesn't appear to be.
All right, when I appear, draw the rapier. Again, take 2. Do I surprise anyone?
There's no response, although you're kind of, but you've got enough fighting training to realise that like there is someone here.
Smell it.
Yeah, there's a kind of just like really particular. It's the whole of the vibe of the room itself. You've got all these like external like weather smells that are kind of here.
I'll call out. I'll say, Malcolm.
Specific bit of sweat.
We're here from the Kinstow coastguard. Show yourself.
Malcolm's not here, laddie.
Ooh. Just get my rapier ready for a bit of mono a mono. Well, who do we have here then?
And from behind the like the lantern frame stands a very tall, very broad man. He looks intensely aged. And he kind of like shifts aside, looks at you and is like, I don't know you. But we know me as the leader of this lighthouse. I'm Alistair.
What's all this about? Turn it off. We need the lighthouse on to help the ships avoid catastrophe.
It's too late for them now.
What do you mean too late? What is this madness you speak? It is a plain task to keep this light on.
It used to be, but the light is...
Spit it out. What is it?
This place is meant to ward people off, show them the rocks and tell them to go. But it hasn't done that. It's told people to come here. And if people do come here, well, that's just the start of it. I don't know what's going to happen beyond that.
Well, I only believe in what I see. My wits, my sword, my skills. We will light this now. And that's not a request, that's an
With
order.
what?
Damn.
Oh, my boss. And you
Am
see
I
there is a,
not?
like...
Show my rapier.
And it looks down at there and it's like... and he picks up the sledgehammer by the, like, the top of the handle. So he's basically holding, like, the hammer bit right underneath there. And it's just the big shaft underneath. And, like...
It doesn't have to come to this.
Swings a little better in these rooms. He hasn't quite gone into an proactive fight mode yet.
I'll switch to the others. I mean, I'll going to try and see if he knows where Malcolm is before I kill him.
Down in the basement, and you can kind of hear some like cluttering sounds around. It's really distracting as you're trying to like get this part down. The depth of color you're managing, despite only using like just a single piece of charcoal on this, is frankly incredible. Yeah, Ben, what are you doing? You can also hear this like, "Oh, he's coming back."
Right. I mean, what am I learning? What wisdom am I taking away from my copying? Am I learning something about the nature of this place, or what am I getting from this?
So you're almost kind of feeling both like deeply insignificant as a result of it, but also that kind of in the way that like if you were to look at an hourglass and all of the like the different sands sort of like run past the different points, everything kind of like focuses down onto that really, really tiny bit at the middle, and it's like everything has to queue up. And like that's the normal way that life goes. But just that real sense of just being a tiny, tiny little speck within a big, huge queue of like everyone living. And you kind of both get that sensation of like being very, very small, and also of kind of like being aware of like just how small it would be to look at us, just a simple egg timer. And from the outside, you can kind of like look at this thing, and it's just tiny. It's full of like thousands of grains of sand, and just this real sense that we're on one tiny little rock here. And you can sort of like, you can hear the ocean just like smashing away at the outside. You're technically below sea level at this point as well. It's almost like the whole thing is almost like washing over you. But yeah, this place feels like the focal point of, like, if you wanted to be very small, this is the smallest place you could go. It's the main.
Right.
Main
I'm going to go to my muffled voice companion, and make sure that they know and understand this.
You kind of have to like squeeze through the little bit of a tunnel. There's a point where you've got these like naturally formed steps, sort of like move through, and then you're able to like push towards a segment underneath that's been sort of like widened out. It does feel like it probably would be underneath where the storage corridor was. It's quite low. The chamber itself is kind of like roughly hewn. It looks like it's both been slightly, the shape of it's kind of been decided at least by natural water patterns over years. Segments of it have been kind of like pushed back to make it like so it's spacious enough for a human. It's not comfortable though. It's very cold. It smells of like blood and like bad meat. It smells of like human waste. You've got like large barrels up against the wall, and then also on the opposite wall is is a man. He's chained to the wall. He's got a sort of really yellowy looking gag about his face, and is kind of chained down with iron shackles. He can't, your first guess is he looks a bit like a tax inspector. He looks like a tax inspector who's been caught in a storm for quite some time.
Oh, he looks like a tax inspector.
Yeah, a little bit.
I'll leave him there. I'm gonna go the other way. Leave him this way. We don't need him. He's a tax inspector. Goodbye. I'll head upstairs.
There is another, where the corridor kind of opened up into this section, there is another route that continues on through.
Oh yeah, I'll head there.
It's just again, it's quite tight. Push your way up towards that point. Meanwhile, up in the keeper's room, Dylan's I know this. This is our home. This is where we have some food. It's where we sit. Sometimes we tell stories. I've been known to do little jigsaw puzzles from time. You got a house like this, Mr. Hamilton?
No, not quite like this. It's a little more. Well, it's a little less little.
There's a lot of wind here. It pushes the walls in.
Yes. Have you had many guests in the past?
No. We don't get much in the way of guests. We haven't got anywhere that they could stay. Sometimes somebody from the mainland might swim on over and get a little boat or something. Might have a chat for about 90 minutes or something, and then they head off. But we haven't had anybody like that for ages. And then from underneath you can hear
I'm not a taxman! Help!
We haven't had anybody for any time at all. Apart from yourself.
Well, that wind certainly sounds rather strange tonight, doesn't it?
Always does. I think the wind is what got him first. I think the wind was whistling to tell him to come here. And then we lit the way. We opened it up. We told him, We showed him what the route was. He's seen our light. He's come now.
Who?
Since I'm in earshot, is it interjecting if I say something to the taxman? So this is supposed not taxman.
I think you're certainly within the distance of where you could hear. I think that would certainly count.
Right. I'll say, right, if you're not a taxman, you'd have to prove it to me.
I've got my documentation. It's in my pocket.
All right.
See that there's a stash of things there, and from it there's a sort of little a little pad that sort of opens up, and inside it says Malcolm Fraser, Southern Coast Guild of Lighthouse Keepers.
Not a taxman in brackets.
Brackets. No taxation.
This could be forged. How do we know you're a real lighthouse keeper?
I'm not a lighthouse keeper. I've come
who
to
are you then?
The light. It says on the sheet.
You're from the Guild of Lighthouse Keepers.
Yes.
Are you the guild? Are you collecting union dues? Is that what you're here doing?
No.
What are you doing? What's your job then?
I'm coming to check on what the problem is. They haven't had the light on for 4 months.
Well, what are your rates like? Are you extortionate, or do you offer fair prices?
There's no fee.
There's no fee.
I get paid by the Lord.
Why didn't you say so? All right. Listen, you're a good man. If I let you down, will you have a look at my toilet after this? It's been backed up for years.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. All right. Great.
And
all that.
in the keeper's room, you can kind of like hear this like half conversation going on. It's quite clear that Dylan is just like not reacting at all to it. Like you get the impression that he's hearing it and he's just like proactively ignoring it there. He's like, and that's the cellar, but we don't need to go down into the cellar. It's a bit spooky down there. Superstitious lot. Anyway, that's the house. Bye now.
Right. Well, I think I might just check on the light, if that's all right.
Oh, certainly. The best place to see it. He kind of like wanders open the door, opens up, and it's like, I'll show you the best place. If we kind of go and stand over on that bit, you can see even through the kind of like driving rain, right there's just like a huge splash of water, and it kind of comes up and it's like, that bit there, you can see excellent view of the light. Wonderful stuff. I'll show you. And he kind of like wanders over to it and looks at himself and kind of like points and says, see, it's great. Look at the space there, it's fantastic. And a huge wave crashes by and he rolled double 2. And he's rough. But like the next wave sort of like smashes back and he's just like washed down the rock away from you. Yeah, what do you want to do?
I think he's probably going to
Get rid of him.
pull out a handkerchief and wipe his arm where this guy grabbed him, and is just going to turn around, close the door, and walk back in.
Great.
At the top of the lighthouse, we have Alistair, who's kind of like stood there, and he looks almost like more like he should be sort of like holding a trident, the way in which he's kind of like holding this sledgehammer. And it kind of like lifts it, holds it to the point here, puts the edge of it, like the very, very base of the handle, onto the lantern frame, looks and is like,
ooh.
now, you can go. You could leave us to it.
I want to, as I talk to him, I just want to step forward to get in range of my rapier so I can like strike his arm to disarm him, and I'll say, now don't do anything too hasty, we're here to help. Just sort of give him some idle talk, but as soon as I get in my rapier range, I want to lunge forward and cut his hand to drop the sledgehammer.
So you'll remember earlier I said the smallest group is the first to act. At this point, we've got the groups of the same size, in that we have one versus one, and
he's bigger than me, so I'm smaller technically.
That's true. But in terms of the number within the group is ever so slightly different.
I tried.
You did. That's true. I will just read you the wording. Whichever side has the fewest combatants, or is the most at home, holds the initiative and
Oh,
first.
come on! I grew up in a lighthouse. It's in my background.
Well, yeah, true. But this is currently his home. You get the impression that against most people, you probably would have been able to get this. But he just kind of like takes the
Home
motion.
ground advantage, right? Fair enough.
Yeah. He has more skill than you, so he will roll with advantage on this. And he needs to get a 9 to hit. I've rolled 622, so with a total of an 8, that is not enough.
In your face, Alistair.
Now you did say that you wanted to disarm him.
Yes.
So if you also want to roll for some damage, so roll 2 dice and take the highest.
I don't have to roll a hit. It's just auto hit, like a.
Yeah, because he's missed you on the riposte.
All right, that's good. All right, no worries. 2 dice. Here it comes. I rolled a 6 and a 4.
Oh, it is enough specifically to, in fact, like to lop his arm off. Not lop his arm off, but like
lop his arm off.
Well, to like cut him through at the wrist. If you didn't wish to do that, you don't have to. Like,
I don't want to lop his arm off, but I want to wound it to a point where he can't wield that sledgehammer. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. you kind of like there's a way that, because normally with a rapier especially, you either like stab in and then sort of like run it up, or sort of like slice it through, or kind of like take the cut at the end, rather than directly sort of like going through it directly at the wrist. Instead you can kind of like cut him on the back of the arm on the first point, so his hand sort of like seizes. He drops the actual sledgehammer itself, and it kind of like knocks to the floor and just like lands over like heavily between the two of you.
Like I said, one way or another, this lantern's getting lit.
He kind of like looks at you and it's like, I've made my peace long ago. I'm prepared to die for what I think.
This is madness. Don't do it.
This is the only thing that makes sense. I'm the bastion against all that could possibly come. Here in this world, anything of it could go.
Think of Dylan.
You've beckoned him.
He needs your tutelage. You can't abandon him. He's probably waiting for you downstairs right now.
True. How do you know Dylan?
We've met him. He let us in.
He's supposed to come and ask me before anyone comes in.
He's come around. He's seen the light. As I'd like to put it, being lighthouse keepers.
We cannot.
Just come downstairs and you'll see. You'll see what I say is true.
Very well. We cannot both take the stairs at the same time. You're not strong enough.
That is okay. You can go first. I mean, there's no oil up here, is there? So I need to get down there anyway. Yeah. All right, you go first. Unlock this trapdoor.
Probably enough. There's probably enough in the wick to get maybe 20 minutes of burning.
Oh, okay. I might just do that to... Can we do that before we go down? How long does it take to light the wick?
It'll probably take you about 30 seconds if you can get the thing right. There is a like quite a large like striking match.
Yeah, while he's unlocking the trapdoor, I'll say, as an interim measure, we will just light this to alert the ship, and then we will go down and you will see reason.
Oh, no, you can't do that. It's you can't possibly do that. We can talk to Dylan. That's fine, but
all right, okay.
You can't turn on the light.
As soon as he opens that trapdoor, close it on him, and then light it.
Yeah. You kind of say, right, we'll go to the bottom. We'll talk with Dylan. He'll explain.
Okay. You're the boss.
And yeah, he kind of like walks down, and then again you just like put the flap over and then like click it through, and you can hear him from underneath, just sort of like banging back on it. It's like, don't do anything stupid, boy.
Go down and get more oil.
You can't turn it on. It's not good.
Oh, of course I can, and just get ready to strike it.
Kind of like getting the spark at this point off. You always then catch it in just some little, basically tiny little bits of wood that have been turned, little bits of kindling that you can then apply to the actual like wick proper. It is a tricky thing to kind of like with the window open and with the sort of wind lashing in from the side. It is tricky for the flame itself to directly kind of like catch upon, and you're spending a bit of time and just some effort to sort of like make sure this whole thing goes, and then eventually the wick itself like lights properly. The light's not overly bright. The storm still hasn't fully like crashed on and like exploded. You can kind of see from this point here the ship is maybe like 40 minutes away. And with the light going on, and especially you can sort of see the like glint of like somebody is sort of like looking through with binoculars. But also you can kind of like hear the sounds from beneath you as sort of like getting more frantic as he's kind of like hammering away at the trapdoor beneath you. He's like, the light brings her! Turn it off! Turn it off! And beyond the boat, vast, Polyphemus-like. Initially, you think it's just a wave, something significantly stronger. A frankly enormous, almost like moth-like shape, sort of like just like lurches out from behind where the boat itself is. It looks both like insectile at points. It kind of has the same weird sheen that you can see in where the lightning kind of crashes that normally you only kind of see on like mollusk shells and similar parts. And it doesn't quite make sense how, as you're sort of like watching this boat coming towards you, there isn't a boat coming towards you quite the same way anymore, and maybe it's just the way that the waves have gone, and it almost looks like the boat itself is kind of like up. It seems like a mirage or something similar, where the boat is just sort of like sailing through the clouds instead of the storm. And then at another point, there's just like this like frightening crash of lightning. And you just see the boat itself just like snapped in half, like it's just like a brittle stick, sort of like just like torn in two.
How's it Polyphemus like? Has it only got one eye?
Yeah, you can kind of see this just like yawning like darkness right in the very, very center of this thing. Kind of like wide hanging mouth beneath this kind of like point here. The more that you kind of like attempt to directly make out the space of it, the less of it kind of like seems to directly make sense. Robhal, you're at the top, seeing this ship sundered, having lit this wick. What do you want to do?
Pick up the sledgehammer and say, "Turn it off!"
And
With an exclamation point.
the exclamation point stuff, yeah. I imagine at that point, as you sort of like heft the hammer, in the same way that at the end of the Italian Job, you just kind of got this like zoomed out bit and just sort of like see what's going on. And then and then a flash of lightning, then the screen just sort of like runs to black and the credits start. In the manner of much modern movies, we do get a post-credit scene from each of you. It's about another month later, and precisely what has happened in the interim to yourselves is kind of up to you. Presumably, I mean, you were attempting to turn the light off. You could have managed to do that. Being there and center with the perfect tool for this. The precise nature of what comes next is up to you, and we will end with Robhal. But in a month's time, where do we see Clam? Oh, Onyx, can you hear us all right?
Yes. Sorry.
No, it's fine. So yeah, as
Yes, he's probably
a
sitting
month from now-
behind his ornate wooden desk in his office, sipping tea, reading Kant, let's say, and look at his watch and realizing it hasn't quite run properly since that night. In fact, it hasn't run at all. It stopped at the exact time that he stopped time originally. Gives it a bit of a shake. Damn thing. Should get it fixed. And he thinks back to that really strange interaction and the vision of that man tumbling down the steep hillside of that island, and just thinks, I wonder if he had the privilege of dying. I certainly hope so. There are worse things in this world.
All right, yes. And what of Ben?
So Ben is found. So Ben managed to make it to some really lovely city with all kinds of marble, beautiful architecture of marble, but sadly met her horrible fate because she found a beautiful, massive marble, staircase. I'm thinking like the Spanish Steps in Rome, and there happened to be a big banister on it, and she thought this is the perfect time to practice a grind. She unfortunately slipped and broke her neck there, and she's just been lying on the stairs for days because nobody really cares to pick her up. So she's just been sort of stinking up the place. Eventually, the street cleaners will come and sweep her away, but until then, she's just left to the flies.
Yes, and Robhal, finally.
Well, Robhal, he never returns to the mainland, and he's never seen again. And the camera just pans back towards the lighthouse, and there's many shipwrecks that are just getting tossed by the waves, bucketed back and forth. You see the shadow of Alistair, still as a sentinel guarding the broken lamp, and then you see a figure with a long beard hopping from rock to rock, scraping his rapier, looking towards the mainland to make sure no one comes here to rectify what has been done. He cannot unsee what he has seen. He and Alistair now protect the world from this abomination.
Glorious news. And that, friends and enemies, has been Turn It Off by way of Quarrel and Fable. And thank you all for being with us. It's great fun.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that. That was awesome. I'll end the stream now, and if you want to stay on, we can chat. Catch ya.
Perfect.
See yous.